In today's video, we're going to look at this Bachmann 08 and a project to renumber, weather, fade and detail the model to represent 08580 as it was based at Peterborough TMD. Let's get into the video. Hi there, welcome back to Denton Lane, and this is the start of a new video series, or a new mini series, whichever way you look at it, where we're going to be trying to change this Bachmann 08 shunter and try to model it as 08580, which was a 08 shunter that was based at Peterborough TMD for a number of years. This project is one I've mentioned in previous videos, but I thought it deserved its own sort of mini series so that I can show you the steps that I'm going to go through to detail this model, weather this model, renumber this model, and make some other modifications to it to really reflect the prototype in the best way possible. So far, I have covered some of the work in other videos, but just to keep you up to speed, I've repainted the conrods into red from yellow. This was using Humbrol SM230, I believe. It was a satin and a matte red. The conrods were yellow. This is a stock Bachmann class 08. I've also repainted the buffer beams into matte black from yellow, as this is the prototype. The colours that the prototype has in the photo that I'm using to model this locomotive. I've also just fitted wire hoop couplings to the loco this afternoon. So this will enable me to fit more of the buffer beam detail rather than using the standard tension lock couplings, the NEM couplings that come with the loco. You'll notice that they do stick out a little bit. This is just to compensate for the different styles of wagons from different manufacturers and the different coupling heights that come with some of these wagons. I'll now just talk you through a brief history of the loco in question itself, and then we'll move on to the next stages of this locomotive project. So I've chosen 08580 predominantly because of the fact that it was based at Peterborough for a number of years. Prior to this, according to Flickr, and this is not 100% correct, so you might need to go and have a look for yourself, but I believe the loco was based at King's Lynn Depot. I've seen a picture of this shunter with some unofficial depot applications, including KL, which was marked on the body side of the loco, and I'll try and leave a photo of this in the Seymour tab below. I can't share it in the video because of copyright reasons, so have a look in the Seymour tab and you'll see what I mean. During its life, the loco became quite faded, probably due to sunlight and just general outdoor conditions, as well as the work that it was undertaking, which was shunting work around Eastfield Eastfield sidings in Peterborough, where it was based after being in King's Lynn. It also spent some time in Northampton, based at Northampton Depot, and the carriage sidings there, as well as becoming a part of the EWS fleet in the early 2000s. It was painted into EWS livery Again, there's photos of that on Flickr as well, which I'll try and leave in the comment section, also in the See More tab below. And right up to date, the loco, I've found photos of it in RMS Locotech livery, which is a black and red livery, which is a spot hire company. So the loco survives to this day, which is really encouraging, and I'm hoping that I'll be able to do a good job in reflecting the loco during its time based at Peterborough TMB. Now, I'd like to thank Catcliffe Demon on Flickr. He has allowed me to share this photo with you on YouTube. So that this is the photo that I am working to show off the loco in the way that I'm going to model the loco. So I'll share this on screen now so you can have a look. And this is a photo that I'll be working with to be able to depict the model as authentically and as realistically as possible. There's lots to do. This is not going to be a short project, but hopefully I'll be able to share some of the techniques and stages that I go through, so that hopefully it will encourage you maybe to pick up a project like this and hopefully transform the Bachmann 08 shunter into something that looks good and can be used on a layout. So what I'm going to do now, after adding the wire coupling hooks, all I've done now is just painted them black so that they blend in to the buffer beam detail area a bit more. Just get that to focus there. Really easy to do. These aren't perfect by any means, but I've just tried to make them as discreet as possible, ultimately so that eventually I'll be able to add more pipe work to the model, and they just look better than tension lock couplings, any uncouplings in my opinion. So that's the rear and the front of the model. Just get this camera to focus. There you can see there. This is just 3mm craft wire that I found on eBay. So there you are. We'll move on to the next stage now. Move on to the next stage of this project now, and this is the renumbering part. This loco, when I bought it, was devoid of any numbers, so this should be a fairly easy job. There's no numbers to remove. If I was having to do that, there's a couple of methods that I'd use. You've got the blunt cocktail stick method. I've used that on a couple of locos before. That seems to work well. And then you can use potentially use T-cut or general thinners or enamel thinners, but it's worth just taking your time, be patient with it, and usually the numbers will come away. There might be a bit of patch painting to do, but that's not really too much of an issue usually. So I'm not going to do this on camera. Probably too much pressure, and if it goes wrong I'll tell you, but hopefully in a few minutes I'll come back to you. Transfers are by Railtech. Steve at Railtech has done a fantastic job with these. So there's the transfer set there if the camera focuses. So I've just got my water here, and yeah, we'll have a go at this, and I'll come back to you once the loco's renumbered, at least on one side anyway. As I mentioned previously, the transfers are from Railtech. Here's one side done. I'm not going to say that this is an easy process. It's definitely not. It's very easy to tear the transfer. It's very easy to stretch the transfer, to leave it in the water too long to soak. And I'm by no means an expert at this. I just take my time. Try to ensure that the area is a little bit moist, a little bit wet, so that the transfer can move around. And using the photo that I showed you earlier, just to get the positioning right. I don't believe it's going to be 100% perfect. It's really difficult to stop moving the transfer about. because you'll get it to a certain point and then you'll feel like it's a little bit wonky, or the gaps between the numbers aren't exactly correct. What I will say with Railtech transfers, the loco numbers do come either as a complete set, in the sense of the transfer is one complete set of numbers, rather than some other manufacturers, they'll include the transfers individually to the individual numbers, which does make life a little bit more difficult to get the exact spacing. In the case of this set of numbers, the 08 and then the 580 part were separate. This is because in the photo that I'll pop in again now, just so you can see, there's a bit of a gap between the 08 and the 580 numbers. So that's my process. Just take your time if you're going to have a go at this. I really do recommend it. It's quite fun, but it can go wrong, and it has gone wrong on a number of occasions for me. So I'm going to leave the numbers on this side now to dry and to set. So I haven't varnished this yet, so these I'll leave this to dry for a few minutes before I do anything else, or even attempt to do the other side. So what I don't want happening now is for the transfer to start moving around if I crack on with the other side. So a bit of patience is required. I'll get the other side done, and then we'll move on to the next part of this process. So in this video, all I'm going to cover is up to the point of renumbering and of masking up the loco ready for varnishing. In the next video, we'll carry on varnishing the loco and then moving on to the other parts of this project. So there we are, there's a prime example in that last clip. After that last clip that I've just shot now, I've gone away and looked at the photo again and noticed that the number was actually slightly lower down and more in line with the cab door handle itself. So I've had to re-wet the transfer and really carefully just move both sets of numbers down, and I'm more happy with the positioning now. So what I'm going to do is leave it. I'm not going to touch it. I'm not going to do the other side till tomorrow. I'm going to let the transfer dry completely. It won't seal completely at the moment until the model's been sprayed with varnish, but once the water, the standing water on the body side has suppressed, the transfer hopefully won't move about once I come to do the other side at some point. So there we are, applying transfers to models. Interesting work, but good to get it done. So we're back again with project 08580. It's really important to consult prototype photos when you're renumbering or doing a project on a loco. It's no good just going off what you think might be reflected on the prototype loco. So I've shared with you a few pictures so far, and I'd actually noticed through a friend who I was chatting to about this project, he pointed out that the cab roof of 580 is actually black, and I hadn't noticed this, so thanks to him for pointing this out. So what I've done now is, this isn't the final finish. What I do is I tend to build up the coats. In this instance, I'm using acrylic paints. You could use enamel paints as well. They're a little bit harsher, but if you build the acrylic paints up, they do bond quite well to the plastic of the body shell. So far I've used matte 106 along with a spot of white and some matte black as well, as you can see here, to create this shade here. If we can get the camera to focus on that. So that's the first coat of this. So I'll leave this to dry now, let it harden, and then I'll go over it with a slightly darker grey to reflect the roof, the cab roof in the photo. I'll pop that up again now just so you can have a look, and hopefully we're getting a little bit closer to where we need to be with the paint scheme of this 08 shunter. Some more progress on 08580 today. I've added another layer of paint to the cab roof. This is using Humbrol Matte 106, I think that is, and 33. And you'll see that I've mixed up some colours in here. I must admit I am using acrylic paints on this project. Now acrylic paints by nature are quite water-based, so I've always found that it's better to build it up in layers. So you might see the colour of the roof here does not exactly match the colour that I'm going for as the last sort of shade, but the more I build it up, and the more resistant it will be when I come to varnish the model after renumbering. So I'm not too worried about that at the moment. So that's another coat done. I'm going to let that dry now, and then once that's dry, I'll either add the second set of numbers to this side, or I'll give it another coat and go from there. Hopefully you're not getting too bored of seeing the same thing, but I've just done another coat on the cab roof of 08580. Again, this is just a slightly different shade of grey and black, maybe a tad darker now, just building up the layers. Once this is dry overnight, I'll have another look at it, maybe take it to a slightly darker shade before counting that as finished. So just wanted to share that with you as part of this mini-series project. So now we've got the transfers on the other side of the model. What we'll do now is apply some Maskell to the cab windows prior to spraying some rail matte varnish to seal the transfers in. Now I suppose you could leave these like they are without varnishing the model, but as I'm going to attempt to fade the loco and weather it, it's best if I seal these in now. I'll allow them to harden over about a week or so before I start doing any fading or weathering on the model. So let's go away now and add some Maskell to these windows. So here we're just adding the Maskell to the windows. Just bear with me because I'm doing this whilst holding the camera as well as doing it on screen. So all I'm doing on here is just painting the Maskell on as much as neatly as I can. I'm not too worried about getting it onto the body too much. Just trying to get into all the recesses, and what it will do is it will dry quite quickly, particularly because I've got the heating on in here. If you're trying to do the same thing, you could just use some masking tape. Might be easier. But after I've sprayed the model with some varnish, this will just peel off with a cocktail stick or something. You can see that it's actually drying already, which is not very helpful. I'll have to go over that again, I think. Right, there we are. Not perfect, but it will cover the windows, and once it's dried, be able to varnish the model. So there we are. That's where I'm going to leave it today in this section of this project. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Hope it gives you a flavour as to what's coming with this loco. So we'll allow the Maskell to dry now, and I'm going to go away and order some varnish. Once that arrives, I'll varnish the model all over, allow it to dry and harden over a week, and then we'll move into the next section of this project, which will be fading the loco and then weathering and final detailing. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe if you're able to, and look forward to seeing you in the next one. Thanks guys, bye for now.